I still remember the exact moment my future was stolen from me. It was a warm June afternoon, just 2 weeks after my high school graduation. I sat in my father's home office, surrounded by the pretentious oil paintings and leather-bound books he thought made him look sophisticated. "Dad, I need my college fund," I said, placing my MIT acceptance letter on his desk. "The first tuition payment is due next month." My father didn't even look up from his computer. "There's been a change of plans, Alexandra." That's when I noticed the empty photo frames on his desk. The ones that used to hold my academic awards and honor roll certificates had been replaced with pictures of my brother Michael's latest football game. "What do you mean, a change of plans?" My voice trembled slightly. "That money's been set aside since I was born. Grandma helped build that fund." Finally, he looked at me, his expression distant. "Your brother needs the money more than you do. His new business venture requires significant capital." My brother, of course. Michael, the golden child, who had dropped out of 3 colleges and burned through his own trust fund with failed entrepreneurial ideas. "But it's my money," I protested, feeling my carefully planned future crumbling. I'd earned that scholarship to MIT. The fund was supposed to cover my living expenses and "Your brother needs the money more." Dad's voice boomed as he slammed his hand on the desk. "This is a family decision, Alexandra. Michael has a real opportunity here. Something that could save our company." I sat there, stunned into silence. Anderson Manufacturing, our family's company, had been struggling lately. Everyone knew it, even though my parents tried to maintain the appearance of success. But taking my college fund, the money my grandmother had specifically set aside for my education. "What am I supposed to do about college?" I asked, hating how small my voice sounded. My father shrugged, already turning back to his computer. "You're smart. You'll figure something out. Maybe take some community college classes, work part-time. It builds character." Character, right? Because having your future stolen builds character. I walked out of his office in a daze, nearly colliding with Michael in the hallway. He was wearing his usual smirk, the one that said he knew he could get away with anything. "Hey, sis," he grinned, waving a check in front of my face. "Thanks for the startup capital. Don't worry, I'll mention you in my success story someday." I wanted to scream. I wanted to tear that check into pieces. Instead, I watched him saunter away, $150,000 of my future tucked into his pocket. That night, I sat in my room, surrounded by college brochures and acceptance letters I could no longer use. My mother knocked once before entering, her face arranged in what she probably thought was a sympathetic expression. "Darling, try to understand," she said, perching on the edge of my bed. "The company needs this investment. Michael has such wonderful ideas, like the virtual reality bowling alley I cut in, or the gourmet pet food delivery service, or maybe the blockchain dating app." "This is different," she insisted. "He's more mature now. And the company. The company is failing." I finished for her. "I've seen the books, Mom. I did an internship in the accounting department last summer, remember? Or did you forget that too, like you forgot this money was meant for my education?" She flinched. "Alexandra, don't be dramatic. We're just asking you to be a team player." Team player. That's what they always called it when they favored Michael at my expense. When they attended his games instead of my academic competitions. When they praised his D+ in economics while ignoring my full scholarship offers. "Fine," I said quietly. "I'll be a team player. But remember this moment, Mom. Remember you had a choice." She left shortly after, probably to help Michael spend my money on another doomed venture. I waited until I heard her footsteps fade before pulling out my laptop. If they thought I would just accept this, they didn't know me at all. First, I emailed MIT explaining my situation and deferring my acceptance. Then I called my grandmother's old friend, Margaret Chin, who ran a successful investment firm. They did what? Margaret's voice crackled with anger when I explained the situation. Your grandmother would be furious. That money was meant for your education. I know, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But I have a plan. I just need your help. Margaret had always seen something in me that my parents missed. She listened intently as I outlined my ideas, occasionally making thoughtful noises. It's risky, she said finally, but if anyone can pull it off, it's you. Come see me tomorrow. We'll work out the details. The next morning, while Michael was probably sleeping off a celebration hangover, I met Margaret in her office. By afternoon, I had a job as her personal assistant and a small studio apartment in the city. Your starting salary isn't much, she warned, but you'll learn more here than you would in any classroom. She was right. Over the next few months, I absorbed everything I could about business, finance, and corporate strategy. I worked 16-hour days, taking online classes at night, while learning the intricacies of hostile takeovers during the day. My parents barely noticed I had moved out. They were too busy dealing with the fallout from Michael's latest venture, a cryptocurrency for pet owners that failed spectacularly within 3 months. He just needs more time, I overheard my father telling the board of directors, and more capital. I made notes of everything, every failed investment, every missed opportunity, every poor decision. I watched from afar as Anderson Manufacturing's stock price fell, as valuable contracts were lost, as my father's grip on the company weakened. Margaret taught me patience. The best revenge isn't swift, she would say, reviewing market reports with me. It's methodical, strategic. You wait until they think they're safe, then you show them exactly what they overlooked. I took her lessons to heart. While my family thought I was just a secretary, I was building my own investment portfolio. Every spare dollar went into carefully chosen stocks. Every bonus was reinvested. I learned to read market trends, to spot undervalued companies, to recognize opportunities others missed. 1 year became 2, then 3. Michael burned through my college fund and started asking for more. The company's stock price continued to fall. My father's hair turned grayer, his shoulders more stooped. And me? I was growing stronger, smarter, more capable than they could have imagined. 5 years after they stole my future, I started my own investment firm. Small at first, specializing in turning around struggling companies. Margaret introduced me to her contacts, vouched for my abilities. Alexandra Anderson? People would ask. Any relation to Anderson Manufacturing? No. I would reply smoothly. Just a coincidence. Let them think that. Let my family think I had disappeared into obscurity. They would learn the truth soon enough, because I had a plan 8 years in the making. And as I watched Anderson Manufacturing's stock price hit an all-time low, I knew it was finally time to make my move. They had taken my college fund, thinking they were securing their future. Instead, they had set in motion events that would give me their entire company. And the best part? They would never see it coming. The Anderson Manufacturing headquarters still dominated the city skyline, but the building had lost its shine. The brass nameplates were tarnished, the marble lobby showed signs of wear, and the receptionist's smiles seemed strained. I noticed all this as I walked through the front doors for the first time in 8 years, dressed in a Channel suit that cost more than my father's car. "I have an appointment with the board," I told the receptionist, using my professional voice, the one that had closed millions in deals. "Alexandra Sterling, representing Sterling Capital." She didn't recognize me. Why would she? The quiet, studious daughter of James Anderson had disappeared long ago, replaced by a woman who had built a $300 million investment firm from nothing. "Of course, Miss Sterling. The board is expecting you. 18th floor." I smiled, thinking of the last time I'd been in the boardroom. I was 16, giving a presentation about modernizing the company's inventory system. My father had dismissed my ideas as naive. Now, 8 years later, the outdated system was just one of many problems dragging the company down. The elevator doors opened onto a floor that hadn't changed since my childhood. Same dark wood paneling, same pretentious oil paintings, same sense of fading glory. But now I could see what I couldn't before: the desperate attempt to maintain appearances while everything crumbled. "Ms. Sterling," the board chairman, Thomas Wright, greeted me warmly. "Thank you for coming on such short notice." I shook his hand, noting the nervous energy in the room. 10 board members sat around the massive table, all wearing expressions of barely concealed desperation. My father's seat at the head of the table was conspicuously empty. "Where is James Anderson?" I asked, though I knew exactly where he was, trying to secure last-minute financing to prevent this very meeting. "Mr. Anderson is unavoidably detained," Thomas said carefully. "But as chairman, I have full authority to proceed with these discussions." I opened my briefcase, removing a thick folder of documents. "Very well. Shall we begin?" For the next hour, I methodically laid out Sterling Capital's offer to buy Anderson Manufacturing, every weakness in the company's position, every failed initiative, every misstep from the past 8 years. I presented them all in devastating detail. "Your stock price has dropped 70% in 5 years," I noted, displaying graphs on the presentation screen. "Your market share has declined by 45%. Your latest attempts at modernization, led by Michael Anderson, have resulted in losses exceeding $20 million. The board members shifted uncomfortably. They knew all this, of course, but hearing it laid out so clinically made it impossible to ignore. "Sterling Capital is prepared to offer $45 per share," I continued. "A generous premium over your current trading price of $28. We'll assume all debt obligations and guarantee current employment levels for at least 6 months." "And management positions?" Thomas asked nervously. "The Anderson family has run this company for 3 generations. Current management will be evaluated based on performance metrics," I replied coolly. "Those who demonstrate value will be retained. Others will be relocated." The double doors burst open. My father stormed in, his face red with fury, Michael trailing behind him like a lost puppy. "This meeting is over," he'd announced. "Anderson Manufacturing is not for sale." I turned slowly, savoring the moment. "Hello, Dad." The color drained from his face. Michael's mouth fell open. The board members looked between us in confusion. "Alexandra?" My father's voice was barely a whisper. "Actually, it's Ms. Sterling now," I corrected him. "Though I'm not surprised you didn't recognize me. You never did pay much attention unless Michael was involved." Your Sterling Capital?" Michael stammered. "Impressed?" I smiled. "I'd built it without any help. No stolen college funds needed." My father gripped the back of a chair, his knuckles white. This is impossible. You're just what, Dad? A girl who should take community college classes? Work part-time to build character? I turned back to the board. Gentlemen, let me be clear. Your company is failing. Your CEO's leadership has been disastrous. And his heir apparent, I glanced at Michael, has proven himself incompetent with every opportunity he's been given. Now see here, my father started, but Thomas cut him off. She's right, James. The numbers don't lie. We've lost confidence in your leadership. I placed a final document on the table. Sterling Capital's offer expires in 48 hours. After that, we'll begin buying shares on the open market at a much lower price. Your choice. You can't do this, Michael protested. This is our company. Correction, I said sharply. This was grandfather's company, which you and Dad have nearly destroyed. The same way you destroyed my college fund with your ridiculous ventures. The board members were watching this family drama unfold with growing understanding. I saw recognition in their eyes, not just of who I was, but of how badly they had underestimated me. Alexandra, my father's voice cracked slightly. We can discuss this privately, as a family. Like we discussed my college fund. I kept my voice steady. No, Dad. This isn't a family matter anymore. This is business. And in business, unlike in this family, competence matters more than birth order. I gathered my documents, tucking them back into my briefcase. You have 48 hours. I suggest you use them wisely. As I walked toward the door, Michael called out. Wait, what about me? What about my position? I turned back one last time. Remember what Dad told me 8 years ago. You're smart. You'll figure something out. Maybe take some community college classes, work part-time. I hear it builds character. The boardroom erupted in chaos as I left. Voices arguing, papers shuffling, my father's authority crumbling in real time. But I didn't stay to watch. I had more important meetings to attend. In my car, I checked my phone. Messages from our stock monitoring team confirmed that Anderson Manufacturing's share price was already dropping on rumors of the takeover. Right on schedule. Margaret had taught me well. In business, she always said, timing is everything. You wait until they're at their weakest, then strike when they think they still have options. I had given them 48 hours, but I knew they wouldn't need that long. The board had already made up their minds. My father's reign was over. All that remained was the formal surrender. And somewhere, I hoped my grandmother was watching, knowing that her investment in my future hadn't been wasted after all. It had just taken a different path than anyone expected. The next 48 hours would change everything. The company would be mine, and my family would learn that the daughter they had dismissed had become the architect of their downfall. But this wasn't just about revenge. It was about justice, about proving that merit should matter more than gender or birth order, about showing that their biggest mistake wasn't taking my college fund. It was underestimating what I could become without it. I opened my laptop to review the transition plans we had prepared. 8 years of preparation were about to pay off. They had no idea what was coming. They didn't need 48 hours. The board's decision came in less than 24. I sat in my office at Sterling Capital, reviewing the final acquisition documents when my assistant entered. Ms. Sterling, the Anderson Manufacturing Board just voted. They'd accepted your offer. I allowed myself a small smile. Unanimous? All but 2 votes. Your father and Michael abstained. Of course they did. Too proud to admit defeat, too powerless to prevent it. There's more, my assistant continued. Your mother is in the lobby. She's quite insistent about seeing you. I glanced at the security feed on my computer. There she was, wearing her finest pearls and most expensive suit, trying to maintain her dignity while security guards politely but firmly kept her away from the elevators. Send her up, I said after a moment. It's time we had a talk. My mother swept into my office 5 minutes later, her eyes widening as she took in the view from the 40th floor. My office was everything my father's pretended to be, genuine power instead of borrowed importance. Alexandra, she began, her voice wavering slightly. We need to discuss this as a family. 8 years too late for that, Mom. I gestured to a chair. But please sit. Would you like some coffee? Perhaps tea in your favorite china cups, like the ones you used to serve while telling me to be more like Michael. She sank into the chair, her composure cracking. You don't understand what this will do to your father, to our family name. I understand perfectly. I understand that you and Dad took my future and handed it to Michael, expecting me to just accept it. I understand that you watched him waste not just my college fund, but millions more in company money, and still believed in him more than me. We were trying to save the company, she protested weakly. No, I corrected her. You were trying to save your image of what the company should be. Run by your son, regardless of his competence. Well, now I'm going to show you what the company could have been if you'd bothered to notice your daughter's potential. My phone buzzed, a text from Margaret. It's done. Papers are signed. The company is yours. Perfect timing, I murmured, then looked back at my mother. Congratulations, Mom. You're now looking at the new owner and CEO of Anderson Manufacturing. Though I suppose we'll have to change the name. She paled. You can't. I already have. I turned my laptop screen toward her, showing the signed agreements. The board voted. The papers are signed. Anderson Manufacturing is now a subsidiary of Sterling Capital. Your father will never accept this. He doesn't have a choice. I stood up, walking to the window. You know what's ironic? If you had given me my college fund, I would have gone to NIT, probably ended up working for some tech company. But by taking it away, you forced me to learn business the hard way, to build something of my own. So in a way, I should thank you. A commotion outside my office interrupted us. My father's voice boomed through the reception area. I demand to see her. Send them in. I called to my assistant. My father burst in, Michael right behind him. They both stopped short at the sight of my office, the reality of my success finally hitting them. How? My father demanded. How did you build all this? The same way grandfather built Anderson Manufacturing. Hard work, strategic thinking, and an understanding of what makes a business actually succeed. I met his gaze steadily. Everything you taught Michael, but never bothered to teach me. I won't let you destroy my company, he growled. Your company? I laughed. You mean the company you've been systematically destroying for years? The one where profits have dropped 70% under your leadership? That company. I pressed a button on my desk, and the wall of screens behind me lit up with graphs and charts. 8 years of declining performance under my father's management. Let's talk about Michael's contributions. I continued, pulling up more data. 5 failed initiatives, each more expensive than the last. The cryptocurrency debacle alone cost $3 million. The automated factory upgrade that never worked. Another $5 million. Shall I go on? Michael slumped in a chair, his usual bravado evaporating. Those were just temporary setbacks. No, They were failures. Failures that could have been avoided if either of you had listened to the quiet daughter who understood modern business practices instead of clinging to outdated methods and throwing money at foolish schemes. My father's face had gone from red to white. What are you going to do? First, I'm going to save the company you nearly destroyed. Modern inventory systems, updated manufacturing processes, proper quality control. Everything I suggested years ago that you dismissed as naive. I picked up a stack of folders from my desk. These are your severance packages. Generous ones, because unlike you, I understand the value of family connections in business. You'll be publicly retired, your reputation's intact. Provided, of course, you cooperate fully with the transition. And if we don't? My father challenged. I smiled. Then I released the full audit reports to the shareholders. Every failed project, every misused fund, every poor decision that led to this moment. Your choice. My mother stood up, hands shaking. Alexandra, please. We can find another way. Like you found another way to fund my education? I shook my head. No, Mom. This is business. And in business, unlike in this family, actions have consequences. I walked around my desk, facing them directly. You have until tomorrow to sign the severance agreements. After that, the offer expires, and we do this the hard way. Now, if you'll excuse me, I have a company to run. They left in silence, my father's shoulders slumped, my mother fighting back tears, Michael looking lost without his usual confidence. As the door closed behind them, Margaret entered from my private conference room. Well done, she said softly. Your grandmother would be proud. I let out a long breath, feeling 8 years of tension finally release. You know what the strangest part is? I didn't do this for revenge. Not really. I did it because I knew I could run the company better than they ever could. Margaret smiled. That's why you'll succeed where they failed. Now, shall we discuss the rebranding strategy? Over the next year, Anderson Manufacturing transformed into Sterling Industries. The changes I had proposed years ago were finally implemented, bringing the company into the modern era. Profits rose, employee satisfaction improved, and our market share began to recover. My father retired to Florida, unable to face his former business associates. My mother threw herself into charity work, trying to maintain her social standing. Michael, surprisingly, found his footing in sales. Once he was forced to work his way up from the bottom, he actually developed some real skills. As for me, I kept my grandfather's original business plan framed on my office wall, right next to my first dollar earned and the MIT acceptance letter I never got to use. They remind me daily that success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. They took my college fund, thinking they were securing their future. Instead, they gave me the motivation to take everything they had. But more importantly, they taught me the most valuable lesson in business. Never underestimate the quiet ones. They're usually the ones paying attention. And sometimes, they're the ones who end up signing your paychecks.